and welcome to another 250th episode of We Only Look Thin.
Another one.
I am Catherine Weigel.
Yeah.
Another 250th. This is We Only Look Thin. I am Catherine Weigel. I am one of your spooky hosts, Catherine Weigel. It's October.
Yeah.
And this is We Only Look Thin. I am a Tiny Habits certified coach, an awesome all-around gal. I've lost
you are.
Lots of weight. I've done 250 episodes.
Yeah.
And with me
Well,
today,
not yet you haven't. Not yet you haven't. You've done 249 and just about
And
a
just
minute
now.
of a 250th
Who are
one.
you?
I am Donald Weigel,
Ghoul.
and I have Weigel, because it's Scary October, and I have lost about 100 pounds, and I have co-hosted 249 other episodes of this show, and am now co-hosting the 250th one.
Congratulations to you.
It's so funny how time flies. It only feels like 150 episodes ago that we were doing our 100th episode. It only feels like that.
Whoa. You know what else flies?
What?
Bats.
Oh, yeah.
Count Trackula.
Oh, I see what you did there. So, it's Halloween season, and it's our 250th episode, and we're going to talk about tracking calories.
Blah, blah, blah.
And so, Catherine came up with the genius title of Count Trackula.
Yeah, it's super fun. We're basically here for fun.
Yeah.
And that's all we're here for.
I wanted to go with, here's an episode about tracking calories, but she didn't like that. Didn't think it had the same ring to it. Yeah.
I don't know. I look back, I would just wonder, they come here for the clever titles.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever happens after that. Speaking of which, I'm taking y'all to task.
Uh-oh.
If you've listened to 249 episodes and 3 minutes of this podcast and haven't done anything about anything, that's on you, man.
Oh, wow.
If you're still not sure where to start, then...
I appreciate that you're still listening to the show, however.
Wait, they already hung up. Hello?
I like the downloads. It gets me. It boosts my ego. Yeah.
But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, it's all your fault.
You were yelling at our wonderful, wonderful listeners, trying to drive them away for some reason.
No, but I still find at times people are like, yeah, but what's the one weird trick?
Right.
Like there is no.
That's true.
No, silver bullets are for werewolves, not vampires.
And this is probably not the episode for that, but there's just so many people who are like, I will do nothing. How do I lose weight?
What if I didn't want to do a darn thing?
What if I just refuse to do anything and am unwilling to change? And then what?
I've blown on a dandelion.
Yeah.
I think I'm covered.
Yeah,
exactly. But before we get started in earnest, which I don't know if we've
serious voice
ever done
on,
anything in earnest.
Yeah.
But we are going to be talking about tracking and calories and maybe Weight Watcher points and all that. And we do understand that we have some listeners who might be negatively prompted by discussions of tracking. So if you are someone who is sensitive to the idea of tracking, please skip over this episode. It's okay. We've gotten all the funny out. You've gotten the comedy. You've gotten the download. We're happy. You're happy. Please feel free to move along. We're not attacking anyone who isn't up to some measure of tracking. But moving forward, as we continue to talk in these words that we're using right now, you can hang up, you can pass it along, it's fine. But we are going to be talking about calories and points and portions and logging things.
Yeah, so. And we are talking about that because we haven't found a better way to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And, if I didn't track what I was eating, at least in some fashion, which for me, I track calories, I don't know how I would really do this successfully. Now, you may take a lot of our other tips and advice if you're listening to this, and you might not track. And if it works for you, fantastic. But for me, and I think for Catherine, tracking calories is the only way I can really know how much I'm taking in, so that I can figure out how much more I need to move in order to make the scale move in the direction that I want it to move.
Yeah, we are able to see it as data. And if you are emotionally attached to calories somehow, you're honestly free to just skip on over. It's totally fine. We know that there are people who are successful with other methods, intuitive eating, and that's super great. We just can't speak to that because I want to eat all the things all the time. So I think that's all we're going to say, and you can hang up now. So now that is over, we are going to talk about tracking, which is not whack. Track is not whack, everyone.
Is not whack.
Count Trackula wants you to know that track is not whack.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know of things that rhyme with track that are whack. I can't remember what they are, but snack is whack.
Snack is whack. Untracked snack is whack.
Unsnacked track is whack. That's really good.
We're so cool.
Yeah,
all the kids love
like
us.
That. Yeah, that's really good. So how do you track calories? What are some ways to do that?
1 point at a time.
I would say the first thing is get a calorie tracking app. And in this day and age, there are a lot of them out there, and almost everyone has a smartphone. And if you don't, there are like computer versions of it. And if you really don't have any of that, I'm not sure how you're listening to our podcast right now. But, you could use paper and pencil, but then you sort of have to carry a notebook around and do it that way, which seems a little cumbersome to me, but you generally always have your phone in your pocket.
Yeah, and we used to use paper trackers with Weight Watchers back in the day, so it's possible.
It can be done. Like Weight Watchers had a little I don't know what it's called. It was a paper tracker that was fairly convenient to write in. And then I found the Weight Watchers tracking app, and that was life-changing.
I remember when you went digital, that was a big deal. So what kinds?
I had a Palm Pilot
that
I did it on back then.
So what apps are there, Don?
Well, the one I use is Fitbit, but most people seem to like MyFitnessPal. There's also a calorie counter by Lose It, which just used to be called Lose It. There's 8 and MyPlate, and look, if you just search calorie tracker.
Yeah, Chronometer is another one.
Oh, yeah, Chronometer is the one that people like a lot.
Someone in our group actually has talked so much about Chronometer, like in the world, that Chronometer asked her to help redesign their app.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's bananas. She is a questioner, so it is a perfect thing for her to do. Way to go, Trackula.
Yeah, and I've had to give up a lot of my questioner tendencies over the years with doing my calorie tracking, which sort of leads us into our next thing. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't lead to the next thing before we finish this, but there are lots of apps out there. You don't have to choose one and stay married to it forever. You can try them. You can figure out which one is right for you.
Yeah, and don't overthink it.
I really like the built-in Fitbit one. I know a lot of people don't, but there's I think MyFitnessPal is the most popular one.
Yeah, the perfect app is the one that you will use.
Yeah. Exactly.
There you go. Just don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. And we've talked too much about it, so we're not going to talk about it anymore. On to the next one. So once you've got your handy dandy tracker, put it on your homepage of your phone. Put it on the first page in an easy position. But start out by adding your favorite foods. We eat generally the same kinds of things all the time. I eat the same few breakfasts, lunches, that kind of thing all the time. When you get started with a tracker, it can feel overwhelming because, you got to add all this stuff. But you kind of find that you eat a lot of the same foods.
Yeah, at least I certainly do.
And over and over again. So the initial startup, it might be a little daunting, but once everything is already in there, it's easy peasy.
Yeah, your favorite foods, at least in the Fitbit app, your favorite foods show up on the front page of it. And then you can also add particular foods so that they're in a very convenient list, things that you're going to eat a lot of, that you just click on it and it becomes super easy and you're not looking up anything or searching for anything. And I find it invaluable just to have those things handy. And then another piece of the app that I use constantly is the barcode scanner.
Oh, it's so good.
And you take the packaging for whatever you're eating, you scan the barcode, and 99 times out of 100, or maybe even more often than that, it's in there. The calories are already in there. And sometimes it's a little bit different than what's on the package is what in there, but you can adjust as necessary or don't. It's super convenient just to scan that. And here's the really maybe weird nerdy thing that I do. I actually have a little baggie of barcodes that I've cut off of products that I use a lot, so that if I like prepare something and cook it and then I put it in a package, I still have the barcode available, so that I can scan it later.
I find those in the freezer sometimes, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. It's fine. I'm not going to. There's a reason it's in here. Yeah. I trust you, and I trust your reasoning for leaving random pieces of paper in the freezer. So
yeah. There's a baggie of them in the refrigerator also.
Oh, there is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't found that yet. That must be in your drawer. That's very exciting.
I have a drawer in the refrigerator, yeah.
So part of that, using the barcode scanner and tracking, and this is maybe the biggest thing I'm going to say in the entire episode.
This is really hard for people.
Yeah. Do not burden yourself with accuracy. If the package says something is 150 calories and you look in the app and it says it's 155, don't sue the company. Right. Chill out. Just, okay, it's fine. It's close enough. If I've seen so many people go like, oh, the tracking is off and it's off by whatever calories. Like, how can I can't keep this up anyway.
People get so angry and so hung up on whether something is 10 or 15 or 20 calories off. You don't have a 10 or 15 or 20 calorie problem. You have you're stepping over pennies, or you're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. I almost did it the wrong way around. You're stepping over hundreds of calories to pick up 10 calories.
Well, and when you use it as proof of like, see, the world is against me and now I can't track anything because how do I even know what's right? Chill your beans. Chill the beans. It's not a big deal.
How many calories do chilled beans have before?
The same as hot beans.
Oh, interesting. Not many people know that.
Yeah, it's true.
And part of this is that we get so hung up on, oh my goodness, the calorie tracker says it's this many calories, but I saw somewhere else that it was really this many calories. It doesn't matter in the end. What does matter is that you do it consistently, and that you do it similarly, or the same all the time.
I don't know.
Oh my god,
I'm annoying.
That's not even a little bit annoying.
Maybe can you remove the track? Like
remove your track?
Yeah.
And
I'm fun.
Yeah, you're super fun. That's what everyone says. And the important part is that you use this as a benchmark.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it the same all the time and you're doing it consistently and the scale's not moving for you in the way you want, then you can adjust things in a downward calorie direction. But you at least have that data and you have something to go off of that you can actually change.
Exactly.
If you're just focused on this is inaccurate, it doesn't matter if it's accurate. What matters is that you're doing it the same all the time so that you have that information.
We can just end there.
That's the end of it. That's the end.
But it's not.
It's not. On the other hand, though, the flip side of that is do be worried about the accuracy of measuring what you're tracking.
Oh, okay.
So where I have fallen into the trap many, many times, even this many years into doing this, is eyeballing things and guessing how big a portion size is. Yeah, so don't do that.
So how do you do that?
Typically with a food scale.
A food scale? Yeah. What are those?
So a food scale, and I can link to a couple in the show notes, but just search food scale on Amazon if you don't already have one. And you can typically set a food scale to grams, to ounces, to liquid ounces, to milliliters, and you measure just about anything on there that you're going to consume. And then you accurately know what the portion is. Like if I say to myself, well, that's about a tablespoon of mayonnaise, chances are
it was no such thing.
It was no such thing. Chances are it's double or even triple what I think it is.
Always underestimate. Just as I underestimate how long it's going to take me to drive somewhere, I underestimate typically my mayonnaise, peanut butter, oil, cheese. I'm never the person who's like, oh, I'm confident that that's a tablespoon and it's only a teaspoon.
Yeah.
We always want to go in our favor when we are eyeballing things. Eyeballs are not, but some things are like isn't like an ounce of cheese the size of an eyeball or something like that?
Something like
Were
that.
you going to
yeah.
give a list?
No, I have a list of that. But,
Okay.
But before we move on to that, like I just, I wanted to say we have a tendency, like we'll look and say, well, okay, there was a big discussion recently about peanut butter. Like you showed me a meme about, like, this is one serving of peanut butter, and you look, and a serving of peanut butter is, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a very like thin layer of peanut butter on your bread, and then you think a serving is it's stacked like a couple of inches high.
Whatever doesn't fall off the spoon,
Right.
and you've got it in this giant, like, well, it didn't fall off the spoon. And I definitely did that recently, where I was like, oh, I think this is about a tablespoon of whatever.
Right.
But what didn't fall off the spoon ended up being 2.
Right.
Which is a big calorie.
Yeah, we tend to, when it's in our favor, so to speak, that it's a heaping teaspoon, which is not the same thing as an actual teaspoon.
Well,
so measuring it on a scale is the much better way to go.
Yeah, and sometimes we take those small things that are like, oh, it's just a drizzle. It's a drizzle.
Right.
It's a dollop. It's nothing. I'm not even going to track it because who cares? I went to get froyo with our daughter the other day, and I put some cookie dough on top. It's cooked. It's like you can't even see it. It's not even really there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to accurately track this. It ended up adding like 150 calories for 3 little nuggets of cookie dough, and that's like, why am I not losing weight? Like, it's for accuracy.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, indeed. Now, if you're in a situation where you have no access to that, it is really important to be honest with yourself and try to get used to the idea of how much certain portions really are. And so I have some comparisons written down.
And you can find these online too.
Yeah, you can find it online. There's a lot of them. So a half cup of most things. So we're talking like rice, pasta, leafy vegetables, fruit is about the size of a computer mouse or a rounded handful. So just imagine that when you're looking at it, like, is this about the size of my computer mouse, or will this fit in my rounded hand?
Which a mouse fits in your rounded hand. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then 3 ounces of, let's say meat or fish is about the size of a deck of cards or a checkbook.
What's a checkbook?
Yeah, exactly. If you still have a checkbook, we actually
we do.
We do have a checkbook, even though we write like 1 check a month out of it. A serving size of cheese, which is typically listed as 1.5 ounces, is about the size of a lipstick or a chapstick, or about the size of your thumb. So you can measure against that. Another measure, a half cup is about the size of a tennis ball of most things, and a cup is about the size of a baseball of most things. And then a teaspoon of olive oil, for example, is about the size of your fingertip. So
I have really big fingers. That's not fair.
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, for example, is about the size of a ping pong ball. So that's not like a ton of peanut butter for 2 tablespoons.
Yeah.
So if you don't have access to a ping pong ball, just figure it out. But it's important to sort of know these things when you're forced into a situation where you are having to eyeball things, because like we've said over and over again, we tend to way overestimate in our favor when we're just trying to eyeball.
Yeah, and don't use the word slather. If slathering, slather is like basically the equivalent of 500 calories.
That's right. Yeah, when you're slathering something, it's not good.
Okay, so this is an oldie but a goodie from
This is one of my favorite tips we've ever given, and I use it literally every day.
Okay, so this tip is Superman 3. As we have talked about.
You're suggesting people go watch the movie Superman 3?
Can
what
I
does
hum
that
that?
have to do with
Can I hum that,
anything?
or did we just get sued?
We probably just got sued, but that's okay.
Luckily, it was so out of tune that nobody even got it. But my Superman 3 habit is to overestimate. Always err on overestimating. So there was a Superman movie where someone was siphoning off money penny by penny.
Yeah.
So no one really noticed it because it was just a couple of pennies or $1 here, $1 there. And they ended up, I don't know how, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
since I've seen
Richard
it.
Pryor was an accidental accidental computer genius, and he figured out how to steal
Same.
like these fractions of a penny at a time, and they ended up adding up to like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So the point of Superman 3 is, let's say you're using your barcode scanner and the portion that you have is 400 calories. But when you log it into the system, the app says it's 420 calories. Instead of getting mad, canceling your Fitbit,
Right.
Throwing a fit, just track it as the 420 calories. You're rounding up. Think of all the times that you probably ate something and didn't track it. You're making up for it. It all evens out. Just overestimate a little bit. Don't worry about it. And Donald, you do this a lot. Why don't you say how you use it?
I intentionally do this all the time. Like if I'm weighing out, like I eat a lot of pineapple and watermelon and apples. When I'm weighing them out, I will intentionally give myself like 175 or 180 grams, and I will log 200 grams.
Ooh, just do it flat.
Yeah, into the tracker. And then, like Catherine was just saying, there are lots of times where I'll scan something and it'll be, what's in the app is maybe 20 or 40 calories above what it says on the packaging. I let it ride. Because that's the kind of gambler I am. No, what it does is it gives me a little bit of a bank of calories for the things that maybe I'm not exactly accurately tracking. Or, sometimes, I will be like, okay, it says 3 slices of cheese is this many calories. And if I don't weigh that, if I go against the earlier rule of always weighing everything, then I don't know for sure that those slices of cheese are exactly that many. So I have a little bit of a bank throughout the day that I know that I can rely on that helps me actually hit my calorie goal, whether I know it or not.
Well, and it takes out that decision fatigue of just like,
Right.
Okay, just round up. It's fine. I'm not going to grouse over these pennies that you just stepped over for dollars or whatever that thing was.
Exactly. And I consistently do that so that I have a little bit, I log a little bit more calories than what I'm actually theoretically eating.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. I like Superman.
Thanks.
All 3 of them.
And then the next thing I would like to suggest is to track things in advance. And what I typically do is I will do food prep, and I'll do some of that on the weekend, some of it in the morning before I go to work. And then as I'm packing my lunch, I'm basically planning what I'm going to eat through up to dinner, essentially. And I log it all at once. And it takes maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And then it's done until dinner time. And I don't have to think about it. And I've already got the food. It's like I've already eaten it, so that when I'm eating it, I'm just like pulling money from the bank, so to speak, and not adding to it.
Well, and I think part of that too, for tracking in advance, I have a policy. I don't do that. I don't prep my food for the day. I don't know what I'm going to eat until it happens. But it's in my mouth. What is it?
Yeah,
it's a snack. But tracking in advance to me means before I put it in my mouth, I track it.
Oh, yeah.
Like before I am putting it on the plate, I am tracking it because I have a lot of things on my mind, and remembering what I ate after I ate is not one of them. I always forget, like, oh yeah, I had a roll with that, or no, oh yeah, I added the extra cheese slice or whatever. I am not good at remembering what I ate, so I save myself the trouble by tracking before I eat it.
Yeah, and I think that for me, my point of doing it first thing in the morning too is that I think a lot of people, and even, I find it a little bit annoying to track, track something as I go throughout the day. It feels more annoying to do it 10 different times throughout the day than it is just to pull the phone out once and like sort of track it all in one, like a few minute moment.
Yeah. And for me, it's just like, I have my phone anyway. I'm always taking pictures of everything. So it's not like, oh no, I don't have the extra time to do. It's just, and plus with so many things, like you said earlier, I know I'm going to have yogurt in the afternoon. I know I'm going to have my ice cream sandwich after dinner. Like, there are things that you can just put in there because you know you're going to have them. So it doesn't have to be, super stressful. It really has made such a huge difference in our lives.
And you were talking about a new thing that you've been doing where, you explain it.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for, 7 years now or something like that. I don't even remember. Nobody knows what time is anymore. We had a Zoom in Wolt Place yesterday. We only look thin place, and we were talking about tracking indulgences or planning for indulgences. And we talked about the idea of pre-tracking generic calories. So this is something that I've been doing where if I go away for a weekend or something and I'm not tracking accurately, I have a custom line item that's 1,500 calories that I put in just as a custom, like, okay, I went out to eat, it's 1,500 calories, whatever. But yesterday what I did, which is really awesome, and it actually really helped, is I created a custom breakfast, lunch, and dinner, each 400 calories. So I don't know what I'm going to eat, but I'm kind of putting in a little place mark for 400 calories for breakfast, 4 for lunch, 4 for dinner. And that just puts it on reserve. I track it in the morning. I did that yesterday.
Yeah.
And then as I actually eat, I add what I really ate. And then I remove that place mark for 400 calories, but I still kind of go like, oh, okay, I'm already at 1,800 calories for the day. Like, it helps me be mindful of, hey, maybe you shouldn't eat 9,000 calories for breakfast because you still, it's like if you go on a trip and you have a budget and you blow it all in one day. Like I was saying, like if your parents gave you money for a souvenir when you went like on a trip with your grandparents or something, and you spend it all in the first 5 minutes of the trip, and then you see something later on and you're like, I wish I hadn't bought that Garfield's keychain for $20, which I totally did when I went to Switzerland as a kid.
or I always see people at Disneyland where they buy these like, giant hats. And
oh my gosh, the Goofy hat.
When are you ever going to wear that hat except at Disneyland?
Yeah, and then you see something
in the future.
You see something rad later and you're like, oh, they really should have saved up for it. So I've started putting in 400 calories for each, and then as I eat my real food throughout the day, I just delete them out, and it's been great for me.
I think
so.
That's a
join
great
Wolt
idea.
Place and you can see it in person.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And another thing I wanted to mention was if you for some reason don't have time to track in the moment, or you just don't pre-track and you're in a hurry, stop and just take a picture of what you're eating. Because I don't know how many times I've, later in the day when I do have a moment to track, I'll think back and I go, wait a minute, what did I eat? I know I ate something. And I either will have a very hard time remembering or sometimes can't remember. So take that picture. Then like when you do have the moment to go back and look, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, that's what I ate today.
I never remember. I took a picture of a salad that I had once. I know I've talked about this before. I was like, oh yeah, I had a salad. Oh yeah, I forgot the pretzel roll, and I forgot the feta, and I forgot the pecans, and I forgot the pat of butter on the side. And that can really add up, those, because we want to err on the side of like, oh, I just had 4 pieces of lettuce. And it's never that. There's always pecans and feta on top of basically everything that I eat. So, so taking a photo really does matter.
Especially your cereal.
And part of that too is if taking a photo isn't appropriate, excuse yourself to the restroom and take a note or something and just like put it in there, because it really does matter. Like, our actual health matters. And if we keep making excuses as to why we can't do it, then we're not going to get super great, accurate results. Write it on a piece of paper, take out a notebook. You can make it work. I used to track on a Post-it note. Like when I was in high school, I tracked my calories on Post-it notes. So,
wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's pretty good. And so another thing that we would like you to do, and this is one of the big reasons for tracking calories, which I think people don't even think about, is you can go back and look at the information and actually find patterns of behavior that, for me, I discovered that when I was eating carbs in the morning, all of those sort of things that you typically eat for breakfast, that it was causing me to eat a lot more throughout the day. And I figured out from looking back at my tracker that if I ate protein in the morning, that I had a much better chance of sticking to my calorie goal accurately. And that's just one example.
Well, and seeing those patterns when we don't track, it can be like, oh, why am I like this? Oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm just broken.
Yeah.
But for me, knowing, I've gotten to the point where it's like, if I eat random sugar in the afternoon, it's probably going to lead me down a path of snacking the rest of the day because it makes me hungry. So it helps you. Speaking of vampires, I don't know if that sounds like a vampire.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I
like
call
a
myself
vampire.
a sugar vampire. So I save sweets for after dark because I know that if I start early in the day, it's not going to be easy for me to stop. Sure, some days I can make it work, but those are the exception, not the general rule. So seeing patterns, checking your fullness, like Donald said, is really important because we're trying to understand ourselves better than we did for 40 years of just wondering why, like, our thyroids and our heritage were so against us. It wasn't that. It was that I was eating food that wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many years I thought I had a thyroid or
I wished,
heritage problem.
prayed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what I really had was secret eating bagels in the car before I got to work problem. That was my issue.
Exactly. And another thing to do is, and this is a hard one for me even now, is make sure to track even when you go over your calories. I would have a tendency of, well, I'm going over anyway. I just don't want to put the evidence down. But it's important to have the evidence in your tracker of when you go over and then what those results are on the scale so that you know, like, okay, well, when I eat this many calories, this is what happens. And it's really, you're sort of putting yourself back in the dark if you don't accurately track that.
Yeah. And I think too, as part of that, people often don't track on weekends. They don't track alcohol. They don't track binges. And when we leave those sort of black holes in our tracker, I go back and look at my weekly averages for calories.
Yeah.
And when I don't log a binge or a night out, it looks like, but my average calories are 1,700 a day. Why am I not losing?
Yeah.
And the omission makes me a victim of like, but I'm doing everything right. I put in on my custom field, I have a custom 1,500 calories that I put in when we go out to dinner, or on weekends, if I go away and I don't track, I put in 3,000 calories for the day and it shows on my tracker in red. Oh no, I'm bad. I've gone over. All it is reminding me like, why haven't I lost weight this month? Oh yeah, because I went off track for 50% of the days. Oops. And sure, it's not 100% accurate or trackurate, as we like to say in the business.
Goodness.
Come on. You know who you married. Don't act like a victim. But it just helps remind us when we go off track. And even if you just put it on a calendar as like a little red X or something, you can look at the frequency that it's happening, because we can go like, oh, but I've tracked for so many days. What's going on? Like, oh, obviously this isn't working. The more accurate we are, the better the data that is, and the more we can see our patterns. And that is a good thing.
And so get used to being really honest with yourself about your calories and really log them in an honest way, because there's so many times where I have done it, and I've also been tempted to be like, well, I'm just not going to count that because I feel like I deserve it.
Yeah, or it didn't taste very good.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as I thought.
Exactly. And so I will be tempted to not track it. And it doesn't matter whether you actually log it in the tracker or not, you've still eaten it, and the calories are still going to affect your body in the way that they affect them. It's not like if you don't log them that suddenly like you magically get absolved from them. They don't just disappear.
Exactly. So in a few points before we finish up, just letting you know, whatever you track, whether it's points or macros or portions or whatever, do what is right for you in this season. I used to see tracking as a short-term sort of punishment, a means to an end. I was bitter about it. And now I see it like following my financial budget.
Yeah.
I see it as data. And I know that if I overspend, I'm going to be in debt.
Right.
And if I overeat, I'm going to gain weight. It's not a punishment. It's not a fad. We have been maintaining our weight for years and we still track. And I can tell you that the people in Wold Place, We Only Look Thin Place, maintainers also track. It is not like suddenly you graduate and then you can just go back to old habits.
Yeah.
Because literally every time I take a break from tracking, my portions get bigger. I overestimate, I get careless, I forget. And that is why I gained 10 pounds this summer, because I just decided I wasn't going to make it a priority, and I am not fixed. It is not something that I've gotten over. It's something that is just part of life maintenance as a grown-up. Some people don't have to track. Some people have figured out ways to manage their portions. That's amazing. Like, awesome. I know I always sound sarcastic. I'm not sarcastic. If you're the kind of person who can do that, that's amazing. But I have found that when I don't track, I gain. And that has been true for other people in our group too. People who have lost the weight and then they take time off. They find themselves up on the scale. This is just part of maintenance. Maintaining your car means you take it in for oil changes. You don't just go, the car's paid off. Woo! Like, right. Oh, check engine. That's for losers. Like, we have the opportunity to manage self-care. And part of that is spending what amounts to me is 4 to 5 minutes a day of tracking.
Yeah.
And it's not always 100% accurate, but it's consistent, and consistent matters more than accuracy, right?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for consistently listening to this show. Consistency also matters when it comes to that. We are grateful for all of you, and truly, and I'm humbled. We have done 250 episodes now, and people are still earnestly downloading and listening. It means a lot to me, and I assume to Catherine as well.
It does, and just letting you know, in this episode we've covered tracking. But there's a lot we didn't cover. I bet as you've been listening to this, you're going, but Catherine and Donald, what if I go out to eat and I don't know how to track? We're going to do another episode on tracking.
Yes.
So there's more to come.
More to come next week. Yep. Episode 251, which is just as special as
and
250.
Spooky. It's a Halloween
It
edition.
It's one episode spookier than this one. So you can find that episode and all of our episodes wherever you found this one, and any time of day, all the time, on our website at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep, and if you are at weonlylookthin.com, you can click on the link for Join Our Support Group to find out more about Wold Place. Or should I say Wold Place?
Sure, that's even spookier. Yeah.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, no, that's the spookiest of all.
It is. But we are not a weight loss plan. We are plan agnostic. We have people doing Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting, macro tracking, lots of different things. But we are a place for support because so many of our issues are beyond the tracker and into mindset and family and just so many different things. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wold Place is right for you.
And if you would like to interact with us on social media, you can find us at We Only Look Thin on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or you can send us an email. You can write to us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com. We have turned many listener emails into episodes. People write us with questions, and we answer them via an episode, or people give us episode suggestions, and we've done them. And we also will take questions and compliments and whatever you want to send our way. We only look thin at gmail.com.
Yep. And if you have a couple of extra minutes and can head over to Apple Podcast, leave us a rating and a review. Not only does it warm our cold, dark hearts, but it also helps. I have a cold, dark heart. Do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were just like, I'm in it.
No,
okay. Yeah.
As far as in October, and definitely.
Yeah. But it not only makes us feel good, but it also really helps all the outer space algorithms like we talked about on the last episode. Outer space is vast.
Yeah.
And the internet is vast, and there are many podcasts. Help other people find our podcast by leaving us a rating. It also
helps the spooky algorithms.
Oh.
Yeah, find us. And the other thing that really helps the spooky algorithms is if you tell people about our show. Word of mouth is one of the best ways in which the show grows. And we'd be really grateful if you would tell somebody about it, whether it's online or in person, somebody that you know or a stranger on the internet. Let them know about our show. It really helps the show grow, and we are grateful.
Yep. So if you wish this episode had been called Don't Worry, Be Tracky, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration. Blah, blah, blah.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.